That looks good.
Okay.
So I think this is a little bit better.
Yeah.
It'll be easy for the
Mhm.
editor to lop off the sides.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm glad to meet you.
Yes.
Hang on a second. Gotta find my questions.
Let's meet first.
Okay.
Introduce each other. My name is Bahadir Ozer. I'm from Turkey. I'm 37 years old. I live in Estonia right now, in Tallinn.
How did you wind up in Estonia?
Well, I was living in Italy. Then the COVID started. I was teaching English to the private lessons to Italian children. Then all of the lessons have stopped and I kind of ran out of money. I didn't know what to do. And my girlfriend said, hey, let's go to Erasmus to Estonia. So they would give some money for Erasmus. Then she offered me to come here. Then just like one day before we come here, she broke up with me. But anyways, I came here.
I guess it happens.
Yeah, that happens.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I came here and she also came here, but we didn't meet here. I realized I had more opportunities here compared to Italy about job, about lifestyle, you know. I saw like more opportunities here and I stayed.
How many languages do you speak?
I speak Turkish because I'm Turkish. I speak English. I speak Italian, not perfectly, but like I lived 3 years in Italy, so I can communicate.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's a lot.
Well,
I don't speak Italian very well. I read it well, but I learned reading posts on Facebook because I have a background in French and Spanish. And yeah. I finally, I think I was 67 years old. I took a class in Italian in summer school. That was a lot of fun.
You were 67?
I was, I'm 70, I'll be 71 this year, but this was 4 years ago. And I was so proud of myself. And I got an A in the class. My teacher loved me. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. But I'm sure my Italian's not as good as yours.
I don't know about that.
So you're completely out of school. Are you? Do you take graduate classes or anything like that?
Well, I was born in Turkey, and I don't know why I started so early. So, anyways, I graduated from business administration in Istanbul. So, like marketing, business administration. After that, I worked in Turkey for a bit, like in the airport, in export tractor spare parts company. I got fired from some jobs and I kind of felt hopeless. Then I decided to, like I said to myself, I should go outside of Turkey to find some better opportunities for myself. My life was going nowhere. It sucked. So I started first Erasmus in my hometown. Then I moved to Italy by Erasmus program. So there I tried to hold on to stay. I stayed in Italy for 3 years. So I graduated. Sorry about I divert from your main question, but I graduated.
No.
Yeah, business administration long time ago.
Well, that's interesting. How did you wind up a filmmaker?
Well, I remember a moment that when I was leaving Turkey to go to Italy, like, I don't know if it was in the plane or something. I just thought myself like I want to be a filmmaker and I will go and be a filmmaker. That was one thought that was in my mind, but I always loved filming. And there was like this magical thing about music and image put together. So I was always pulled by that.
Did you watch a lot of films when you were younger?
Yes, in some period. when I was studying in Istanbul, I was watching a lot of films. Yeah, but not as much as many filmmakers probably.
I used to sew. I used to make all my own clothes, and I watched movies while I sewed. This was like starting in grade school and then high school. I call them sewing movies, but it actually was a film education because I've seen so many. So let's see. That kind of answers our first question.
Yeah,
Most
but
artists, go ahead.
I want to ask, can you introduce yourself? So I said who I am.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I was late. I apologize for being
No, no
late.
problem.
I'm Sylvia Toy, St. Louis, and I am usually not late. And I'm glad this is going to be edited. But we've kind of talked about the first question. Most artists these days have complex lives in which we play multiple roles.
Mm-hmm.
And you've told us about your work experience, but you haven't really talked about your creative process and what you actually do in the studio. And in the studio, it can be out in the field with your camera when you're working as a filmmaker.
Okay. The question is what?
The question is, what is your creative practice, your creative process, and what do you do in your studio when you're working as an artist?
Well, the video almost always starts like there's a feeling, but well, I realized I make videos mostly when I feel bad, something bad happens, like I feel depressed or I feel sad, that after that I do something, there's this feeling inside me and there's kind of a mood, like also the music. And I just wanted to put this out. So I have some logistical, like practical ideas about how this could be out. Like I can go and do this video with this friend, or I can just go for a trip, and this trip, because okay, I have a feeling, but to put this out, I need some structure and some real thing to, put it out.
Yes.
It starts with that, and how I make the videos is I just go and film and hope I get good footage to make it.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes what you didn't expect to happen turns out to be the best thing.
Yeah.
So when you say you tend to be inspired by feeling bad, that's kind of what I'm hearing, which I think is really interesting. I think a lot of us are like that. But I wonder, is that related to any political art that you make? I was told that you made a film about the Italian mafia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also told that that you've talked about, confronted, been involved in conflict that filmmakers have in Turkey.
Okay. Well, I made a video about mafia, but that was mostly my experience in living in Foggia. That's not really a film, but it was just like me filming myself in a hotel room. Mm-hmm. I had lived in Estonia for a year, and I had to come back to Italy 1 year after. After experience of Estonia, when I returned to Foggia, Italy, I felt very, very, very bad and very angry about what's going on in Italy, about how no one gives a shit about anything, how people sleep on the streets, how there's so much crime and people just try to enjoy their lives, and how I couldn't do any basic things in the post office because everyone is so lazy and incompetent, and that's the lifestyle there. So it got me some feeling of like,
frustration.
Yes, and disappointment, because I thought I would have a life in Italy and it would be nice, but I mean, Italy looks very good from the outside, but it's really a disappointment when you are in it.
Do you think that it's that way for Italians, or do you think that there are limitations because you're not a native?
Um, no, I mean, there's limitations for everyone, but
Okay.
maybe for me there was more. But I had friends. I was teaching also English in Italy, and my students were always telling me how the system works. Like they work for
Mm-hmm.
12 hours, sometimes more, and they get paid like 600 euros, 700 euros per month. You work a lot, you don't get paid, but you have a high quality of life because the food is good, the climate is good, and very beautiful sea and coast. So everything's beautiful, but you don't have any opportunities. You just live like a minimum
Day
good
to
life.
day. Yeah. Um, well, I don't I'm not one of those Americans that I'm not an ugly American. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a very, very old book from the mid 20th century, and they made a movie with Marlon Brando. And I I think that Americans are so isolated that we don't always understand or appreciate the intricacies um, of people living in other countries. And I'm curious about what it's like to be a filmmaker in Turkey, but it sounds like you've, as an adult, you've lived quite a bit outside of Turkey,
Yeah,
and
because
that
when I
maybe
was,
you started your career outside.
yeah, well, I'm not sure if I can say I have a career in it right now, but that's what I want to do. But I
Mhm.
just made like simple videos and films, not film, but like simple videos. I started doing them in Turkey, but I'm not famous or I didn't do any big productions. So I don't really know the problems and the Turkish people have. But I'm guessing it's quite difficult if you're a famous director and if you oppose the government or Erdogan, let's say, you're gonna have bad time. So you are not very free. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to leave Turkey.
Mhm.
Many reasons have, you know, contributed in my feeling of not disgust, but what is this feeling like? I can't take it anymore to live in Turkey. One of the contributors were this pressure, this censorship, and this you don't. It's like poisoned air. You can't breathe. You know.
Yeah, no, no, I understand what you mean. I grew up in a Midwestern state, and when I think about trying to live there and trying to participate in society, because I live a very simple life because I am old enough that I don't have a job anymore. Um, but even that, you know, I get up in the morning, I get my husband ready for work, and then I'm an artist and I have a lot of freedom, but it's still complex. Even though my life is simple, it's complex. And everything I do, even getting my husband ready for work and making dinner, it's all a part of life, and it's all what makes us. And if you're making, I'll tell you what I was told by I was a, a gallery artist. I made sculpture, and the first art dealer that represented me told me, if you're making art and you're putting it out there, you have a career.
Oh,
Okay. Career
yeah,
starts when you start making the work and putting it out there, and that becomes part of your interaction with the rest of the world, part of the way that you communicate and express yourself as a
yeah.
person in the world. So I'm sorry. I couldn't let that go. I couldn't let that
Nice.
pass.
So I have a career.
You have a career.
Nice.
So I think I wrote you a note that I had watched some of the B1, the
Yeah.
Pelin, how do
Yeah.
you say that? Pelin?
Pelin.
Peeling? Uh,
Mhm.
that I've watched some of those. I thought those were very interesting.
Yeah.
And I watched some of their more documentaries, and am I too far off saying that there's a lot of philosophy in your work and a lot of reflection about the world, about yourself, and about your worldview? Am I far off saying that?
No, not really. You're not far off. Yes.
Okay, can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, I was thinking about this before the interview, like couple days since you gave me the questions. I was having really headaches about how to define what I do, in which genre it is. I really can't. I don't have good answer for that. I think I try to show people, including myself, that how I feel inside, and how, let's say, if I make a video about me going to a trip, I try to make the video as what this human experience when having this trip, from the core of my point of view. Also, like my interviews with other people, I try to show their inner weird self, to like how they perceive the world. So, but about the philosophy, I always try to make videos honest and no bullshit. Like everything has to make sense, you know. I don't put any scene that I don't believe like it's fake or something. It should be consistent with who I am and my point of view, and inside of itself it should be consistent. So maybe that creates the feeling of like a philosophy, because it's, even if it's a simple video, it's a point of view of someone, and that I don't know how to tell, but nothing is simple. Everything somehow connects to this huge philosophy in the end.
Yeah, it's very well put. So you seem fairly active on YouTube, for somebody who thinks he doesn't have a career, especially. But have you exhibited or like been involved in a public forum with your work, or you done anything like that yet?
Well, there was from Foggia University, there was a competition about videos. I won that one. That's something maybe.
Oh, good. But, congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, thanks. And I really like that video. And your question is like, is my films put out to, I don't know, really. Not that I know, only by I contributed to your project.
Right.
But other than that, actually, I didn't really look for it, and I didn't apply for anything, because why I made the videos on YouTube is, well, I was making videos for a while, then I started to put them on YouTube to show my sister and show my friends, and to see what people think about it. And then I started to put the videos with my face, because in the past I never used my face. I was shy. I think, I mean, mainly I was shy. So I started to make videos with myself, like putting the camera on my face, explaining things like a vlog style, like telling about my life. And then the people started to watch more. So I said, okay, I'm here in Estonia.
That surprised you?
Yeah, actually, it surprised me a lot that people are so interested. So I didn't have a job. I didn't have money in Estonia. I was heartbroken. And I said, like, okay, I want to make videos, and I don't have any like object. I can't make, I don't know a lot of people. Let's do my videos. So I film myself. I talk about my problems. I show them how I feel, how I live. Then people started to watch them. Not too many people, but they were very loyal, kind of. They were very enthusiastic about my videos, because most of the people use words like sincere, honest, that kind of adjectives used.
And I see a lot of openness. They're very open. And they make you, they're not egoistic, which isn't always the case in more documentary style videos, where a person is including, well, you can't really call it a selfie, but where you're putting yourself in it. It's not about ego. And that, I think that's what's so interesting about them, is that it's like you're sharing yourself, you're sharing what you really think. The word for that is refreshing. Okay. So here we go. This I've been really curious about. Every artist has a handful of other artists they look to for inspiration and guidance. Is there a particular artist or movement or style that inspired you to pursue filmmaking, or someone that you've come along, that you've that's come across your path as you've been making films, that maybe opened up the world for you or veered you off in another direction?
Well, I think my inspiration, I can say, there's a Swedish metal band, doom metal maybe, Catatonia, and the how they make their music, how they put these feelings, how they construct the songs. That's very inspirational to me. And I don't know, maybe it's not correct, but to my mind, to my brain, it feels like filmmaking and music creation is almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Even
that's what you're open to if you let it all flow through you.
Yeah.
It's really the same sort of zen as what you do filming yourself in the world and talking about how you feel about yourself and being in that world. Which maybe that's what we're really after as artists, period, no matter what our medium is.
Probably.
I'm gonna have to look for Doom. I've heard the name and I think I've seen stills of them, but I can't
hear the name of the band.
Oh, okay. I'm always behind on music.
Okay, I wrote in the chat that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see.
And about the filmmakers, I kind of like David Lynch. I like his attitude towards filmmaking. How he blends in his weird ideas into consumable.
Yeah. And he's a sharer, like you. He shares the whole process. It's like his life is an open studio. That's what it appears, and may just appear to be that way because he's so prolific. Because everybody's world has a lot in it. So I asked you about this Jonas Mekas quote, and the reason why I usually include him in the interviews is he's just so historically important for experimental filmmakers. I make movies, therefore I live.
Okay. I wanted to share with you, as you are more experienced and you have more knowledge about art than I do, but I'm
just old.
Yeah, I know.
All that is time. It's not magic. It's only time. Lots of minutes, one after the other. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. So I was thinking maybe, well, for a long time I had been filming myself, but not sharing with anyone. Like I talk on the camera.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, even before I made videos and show anyone, I was just putting the camera somewhere. I was talking about what I've been experiencing, what I feel,
Hmm.
some whatever it is, and that maybe it's some mental problem I have. I don't know. Maybe it relates to something, but I felt like I exist when I watch myself in the videos. I feel myself more existing in the world or more valid. I
Hmm.
didn't feel as real, you know. I feel more real when I'm seeing.
I, 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 I'm fascinated. I wish I'd known that. Of course, that's all I would have wanted to talk about, probably.
Yeah,
But that is really interesting. And do you feel like you learned from yourself?
yeah, and I feel really shitty when I talk about what I'm living, how I feel, and but when I watch myself, I feel more hopeful and I feel better about myself.
Hmm.
There's this guy who's trying to do something, he's in pain, but he's trying. I mean, I have more respect for myself, but I can't do it without seeing myself from the outside.
Wow, I love it. Oh, wow, I'm gonna be thinking about that for days. That's fantastic. Um, let's see. Oh, and here's another quote that I really like. The painter's way of seeing is reconstituted by the marks that he makes on, and he was talking about two-dimensional rendering, like painting or drawing. Yet, although every image embodies a way of seeing, our perception or appreciation of the image also depends upon our own way of seeing. And that sounds like exactly the same sort of thing you were just talking about,
Yeah,
just shooting yourself.
yeah.
Just,
Um, okay. So can you again ask the question? Sorry, I'm a bit
well,
confused.
I, um,
Because
what,
about the pain. Yeah, go on. Okay.
as as an actor, I mean, that's my basic. I couldn't do anything without
Mhm.
acting. I just couldn't. And I try to be honest and tell the truth, even if I'm like made up as an old man, like I am sometimes. I still want his humanity to come out. I don't want it to be about my ego. I want it to be about him. But I actually started my when I wanted to tell stories, um, I studied playwriting for 10 years, and I'm not a very good playwright. I was very mediocre, and I decided what I needed to do was just turn on the camera and start talking, but I'm doing it in character. It's not like as pure
Yeah,
as what you've done, but I think it's the same thing as approaching a blank canvas.
yeah,
When you want to be honest in the first place, that means it's like you're not coming to it already with subtext,
yeah,
or maybe not even a sketch. You just turn on the camera and you start talking. And I guess the question is, I feel like I provide myself material that way. Even if I don't use that particular footage,
yes,
it helps me get someplace else. Do you think that has happened for you?
yeah, yes. I'm sometimes inspired by the videos I shot like 6 months ago or 2 years ago for no reason. Just a 2-minute video about me talking about how I think I'm not doing good with my girlfriend, and we have some problems. But anyways, I watch them and it gives me something. And yeah, yeah, that's all.
It's like it grows your mind, and it probably grows your work too, because it's growing your mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any other thing that you wanted to discuss about
Um,
yourself or about
well,
any?
about um, so I feel like I should keep making videos. So sometimes, even though I don't have good things to shoot or any inspirational feelings, but I just go and film, and then something comes up. I this in this period, I'm thinking about how to construct a video so it would be most pleasing to watch, because I realized if you put some moments at some points in the timeline, they are more effective.
Mhm.
Let's say like build up, payoff, that kind of stuff, to place the climax somewhere. So I've been always thinking about this stuff. And what do you think about the structuring of a video?
What what do I think, or that's something that
Yeah.
you're thinking about?
Yeah, I'm thinking, but I'm curious. What do you think?
I think I actually I didn't go to school, and I'm mostly self-taught, but not completely. A friend um, hooked me up with a private tutor. I actually worked with a private tutor for 2.5 years. He's a documentary filmmaker.
Mhm.
And I think what I learned from him was a story comes from whatever it is that you're doing. And I think you're slowly finding that out, but maybe it hasn't gelled, but that's exactly what, when you talk about it, I just tingle all over, because I'm envious of
Mhm.
the discoveries that you're undoubtedly going to be making about yourself, about the process, about story is going to find you in your work. That,
Mhm.
I think, is what's going to happen to you. And what he told me is shoot as much as possible. And in fact, one of the reasons why I have a back problem was because I worked as a paralegal in
Mhm.
the law office, and I shot on the way to work. I actually would carry like $5 and $10 bills around with me that were specifically for giving somebody on the street. I would ask people, can they were doing something interesting, and I would say, can I shoot you? And there's a lot of I wouldn't say shoot. Can I film you for a few minutes, like 5 minutes? And I
Yeah.
would give them um, $5. Or if it was a homeless person who had a sign that was
Mhm.
interesting, I would buy their sign. Um, and that's how story found me. And it was, I would, I would take a tape recorder with me on the bus, and much more interesting dialogue than I ever wrote in 10 years of playwriting.
Yeah.
So much more interesting than what was already in here. And
Yeah.
story found me. Story is all around us. It's all
Yeah.
around us.
About the story, I was also last couple years thinking about, okay, everybody says the video must first have a good story, but not many people think about what the story is. So I've been thinking and kind of experimenting about stories. Like the reason, one of the main reason for my YouTube channel is I have this ideas. Let's say story is important. Okay, so I put the story in this video and see how it turns out and how people react. So I am kind of experimenting the theories, and well, story is not what happens. Yes, I think it's more close to the
It's
character.
more, well, it's sort of like it a word that I really, really love that I learned from an old friend who taught drawing was diseño. Um,
Ah,
that's what story is.
mm,
Same thing, same thing. You just apply that to words, or apply that to action. It's the
mm,
same thing. I call it selecting out. You take out what's extraneous and leave what pops out.
Okay, so according to you, it's not very much about the plot or what's happening, the sequence of events.
Plot happens. Plot happens. There's a situation and that it begins, or you walk into the room and your mother and father are having a disagreement about something, and they see you and they either make you leave the room, and so you're outside a closed door wondering what's going to happen. So that's the middle of the story. And then they open the door and they tell you what their decision is. That's the story. A story can also be you walk into a room, that's the beginning of the story, and you see that your parents are arguing and you just want to get out of there and they want you to stay. And one of your parents, this is because you're a grown-up, one of your parents tells you, your father tells you his side of the story, and your mother tells you her side of the story. So that's the middle. And you're considering, and they're probably still yelling at each other. They're like my parents. People always thought they were going to get a divorce. That was part of their intimacy, was sharing disagreements.
Yeah.
And so by the end, you've thought of a compromise. You say, well, this is what I hear you saying, Mom, and this is what I hear you saying, Dad.
Okay.
And they understand that's the end. That's story. And
but
you're not
the core of the story, what gives life to the story is that it's like us having meeting this difficulty, or we are the core of the story.
Conflict is the core of any story.
Okay.
It's conflict.
Okay.
And conflict, like there's perfect story in the Peelan. Perfect. I would study those. You want to learn about story, watch those and make more of them.
Okay.
Because there's always a beginning, a middle, and an end that depend. It all hinges on whatever conflict is between them and the way that they surprise each other.
Mm-hmm.
The way they challenge each other. Those are perfect little stories there.
Yeah. Okay.
And feel free to text me about those. I did study for 10 years. I know the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just not very good at it myself. Unless I'm talking. I'm fine if I'm talking. But if I'm writing, I suck.
By the way, I watched some of your videos and I really like the clear, how do you say it? How clear you are with your intentions in the film, and how from your heart you share the images comes to you, or the feelings that comes to you, and you are very clear and conscious about what you are doing, and it's very
I really appreciate that feedback, because that's certainly what I hope for.
It's very sharp, and I love it.
I appreciate your telling me that.
Yeah.
It's been just, I hope I get a chance to talk to you again. This is
sure.
so interesting. I can't wait to see what you're gonna do in the coming years. I can't wait to see it. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be interesting, engaging, and challenging, because you're so honest yourself. So honest.
So, like, from more experienced person, do you have any suggestions or advices or like mantra for me, like a direction?
I would have a goal of trying to shoot every day, and what helps is to try to do it at the same time every day. Like me with my camera on the way to work, actually I would have 3 cameras and my laptop in my purse, which ruined my back. but it was worth it. It just was. But try to do it every day at the same time every day. And I'm a morning person. And right after I wake up is when I have the least bullshit in my head. You know, like nothing's happened yet to piss me off or frustrate me or distract me. I'm there at my core, and I'm vulnerable, and my mind is more fertile and open. And that was why it was so great for me to shoot on the way to work. Some people, they're night people, or they wake up in the middle of the night. Whenever your mind is the most open, the most vulnerable, I think some people, the best thing for them to do is to try to scare themselves shitless every time they go to a canvas, every time they turn on writing software, every time they turn on a camera. I try to scare myself shitless. And I may not be able to use it, but whatever is underneath that is going to be just more fertile ground for me to build on.
Yeah.
I would try to do that every day to cultivate your mind. Because at a certain point, if you do that every day, things are going to happen in your head, and you're going to have to remind yourself to turn on the camera because it's happening in your head. It should be here. That's where it is anyway. And it just needs to be cultivated.
That's nice. Yeah, I got it. And we are lucky because we have these phones and we can shoot 4K.
Yeah, we don't have any excuse. We don't have to wreck our backs carrying around 3 cameras anymore. But
yeah.
So they're going to cut us off pretty soon. Zoom, I mean, because there's a limit. But I just so enjoyed talking to you. And I am sincerely cannot wait to see what you're going to be doing.
Well, I hope it's going to be good. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
You have a good rest of the weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.